Some foods could be quietly worsening your neuropathy. Let's find out through this video and unpack what the science says. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and welcome to my channel where I review and debunk nutritional misinformation online. In this video, we're going to hear from the Michigan foot doctors and to see what they think about the worst foods for neuropathy, or the best anti-inflammatory diet. Be sure you wait till the end where you hear my final thoughts.
This is Tom Bernanke, and today I'm going over the studies for the absolute best foods for your nerve damage and peripheral neuropathy, and the foods to absolutely avoid. We're going to go over why you're doing it, the big secrets, and we're starting now. Peripheral neuropathy is a condition that affects the nerves outside the brain and the spinal cords. This is absolutely one of my biggest interests. I do a lot of talks on this at a lot of different conferences, a ton of videos. We even have a book coming out about this. Check out all our resources for exactly how to diagnose it, all the compression syndromes, all the causes, the 15 best nutrients, supplements, and minerals. We do it all with practical guides. It's all free. We're not trying to sell you anything. In this video, we're going over proper nutrition, the best foods, the worst foods.
And I do see peripheral neuropathy in my practice. It's most commonly associated with type 2 diabetes. And what's fascinating is with the reversal of type 2 diabetes, you can also see reversal in neuropathy. There's some neuropathies that are genetic or due to other causes that I don't see miraculous improvement in the diet that I kind of gravitate toward and use a lot, the keto carnivore diet. And I think we're going to see a lot of overlap between what I teach here and the best anti-inflammatory foods that the doctor here talks about.
The best foods for peripheral neuropathy are, number one, lean proteins. Lean proteins like chicken, fish, tofu, beef, these, and pork even. I love pork as well. I'm not going to exclude that one. Are rich sources of amino acids, which are essential for nerve repair. They have B vitamins in there, a lot of great nutrients. A study published in the Journal of Nutrients found that consuming adequate protein in your lean meats is crucial for nerve healing and regeneration. So very well studied, not to mention all the great vitamins and minerals you can get in there.
So I like this so far. Have you heard me talking about how you should have beef and poultry and amino acids? Yeah, prioritize protein is a theme that we use.
Dark leafy greens. Dark leafy greens have come under attack recently because they contain some oxalates. But the reality is studies show as long as you don't develop kidney stones, that it's not something major to be concerned about. That's my opinion at the very least, and the benefits far outweigh the negatives. They contain vitamins such as B6, B9, B12. The B vitamins make up my top 50 list quite a bit. These make a big difference and are crucial for nerve repair. They form something called myelin. So myelin are thick sheets that cover your nerves. They help the conduction. They help the coding. This is proven in the Journal of Neuroscience Research that these B vitamins can help people with peripheral neuropathy.
Have you noticed that these foods keep the blood sugar really low? But you know, this is a nuance between carnivore and keto or ketovore, the low-carb keto diet that I teach. I do teach there is room or an allowance for 2 cups of leafy greens for the day, and then 1 cup of a non-starchy vegetable. And it may be that if you have a neuropathy, it may be that if you have a neuropathy not related to type 2 diabetes, you may want to have some of those vegetables and leafy greens for those vitamins. That's an interesting difference between the two approaches I typically talk about, which is keto and carnivore.
Number 3, nuts and seeds. This is one of my favorite topics. I love nuts. In fact, I have a great video, my top 9 nuts and my 3 worst nuts. These include almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds. These are rich in vitamin E. Vitamin E is a very powerful antioxidant that protects nerves from damage and aids in nerve repair. This is a study published in the Journal of Neurology, Neurosurgery, and Psychiatry found that vitamin E supplementation, which nuts and seeds are very high in, can improve peripheral neuropathy function. Not just that, but nuts and seeds are low in simple sugar. So they're a great snack. Instead of eating candy, instead of eating chips, snack on some nuts. It'll help your nerve disease. It'll help you lose weight. It'll help you get healthy.
Yeah, so nuts, as long as it's not a trigger food for you so that you can't stop eating the nuts. And for some people, there's something about nuts that just makes it unsettled and you're still hungry. But, with a new guideline out where schools are going to be trying to figure out what does it mean to eat or allow real food for students and all, nuts are a great idea for something other than the pure snacks that are just all carbs. So I like the idea of having nuts, but if you're sensitive to them or you can't control them, you want to watch out for that. The nutrition in the nuts are found in other foods as well. Of course, a carnivore diet wouldn't allow for nuts, depending how strict you want to be. I want to thank our friends at Element for sponsoring today's video. Element has a great blend of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Exactly what you need on a keto diet. And I especially like their raw, unflavored version, the one with the blue teal banner. This teal, raw, unflavored option has no stevia, no sugar, and no additives. Just the 3 electrolytes your body needs, already measured out for you. It's a great fit for keto, and honestly, the most important part is it tastes great. As you know, electrolytes matter, especially if you're following a keto or carnivore diet. Element is offering you a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single-serving packets free with any purchase. It's a great way to try it and share Element with a friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/Eric Westman. This offer is only available through my link, drinklmnt.com/Eric Westman, and you'll find it in the description below. Thanks again to Element for sponsoring this video.
Omega-3 fatty acids. I love these. These are found specifically in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, and in seeds as well. Flax seeds, chia seeds, they have anti-inflammatory properties that can aid in nerve repair. They decrease inflammation. I have a great video about omega-3 fatty acids, how to not get scammed by the supplements and the foods. A study published in the Journal of International Society of Sports Nutrition found that omega-3 supplementation may improve nerve function in people with peripheral neuropathy.
Well, are you getting the impression that these are pretty much all low-carb foods? They're all minimizing the effect of the food on the blood glucose, which is really kind of one of the strongest pro-inflammatory effects. So by eating a food that doesn't raise the blood sugar and insulin levels, you're getting anti-inflammatory effects from not eating the refined sugar and starch.
Colorful fruits and vegetables is another one. I love these. These get a bad rap, specifically for diabetics, but studies show that eating a reasonable amount of fruits and vegetables is actually good for your blood sugar. If you go crazy with overripe strawberries, that's one thing, but colorful fruits and vegetables like berries, oranges, bell peppers are rich in vitamin C and antioxidants. They stop oxidative stress to your nerves. They aid in nerve repair. They're healthy for you. They're low on the glycemic index. They stop the diseases that cause nerve damage, and at the same time, they provide the nutrients that heal nerve damage. Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that consuming more fruits and vegetables may help improve nerve function in people with diabetic neuropathy.
So depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to reverse type 2 diabetes or other serious metabolic disease, you have lots of weight to lose, I'd go easy or just not have that fruit and berry and lots of vegetable recommendation. If you're at a maintenance goal or you don't have this kind of tough metabolism, sounds reasonable to me.
Another great food is whole grains. Switching away from simple sugar ones like white rice or pasta and switching to brown rice, quinoa, oatmeal. These are rich in B vitamins, lowers insulin levels, so that helps prevent damage to nerves, but at the same time, fiber helps regulate these sugar levels. The B vitamins help heal the nerves. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that a diet rich in whole grains was associated with less type 2 diabetes and better nerve function.
Well, the studies that compare a diet that has grains or rice, things, I'm sure they're comparing it to the typical American diet. The studies that go head to head with low glycemic, allowing wheat and rice, to very low carb diets, they don't compare. The low carb diets are much better for reversal of diabetes, other metabolic problems, and probably neuropathy, even though I haven't seen that studied head to head. So it's a different context he's talking about, where you might not have any other health issue or you're not trying to reverse diabetes. I would not want these grains. In fact, gluten is so widespread as a problem, gluten enteropathy or celiac disease, that I'm very cautious about having even otherwise healthy people have the grains like he's talking about.
Low glycemic index foods. These are foods that are high in sugars that are difficult to break down and low in simple sugars. So we're talking lentils, beans. These are digested more slowly, resulting in slower rise in blood sugar levels. Simple sugars, so high glycemic index foods, have been shown to damage peripheral nerves. The Journal of Diabetes Investigative Research found that low glycemic index foods definitely are correlated with better diabetic nerve function.
And again, the context that compared to a typical American diet, those might be better. But if you stayed with those first foods at the beginning that have fewer carbs, I think you'll find you have better results with neuropathy even.
Let's take a second to talk about the glycemic index. Basically, when you eat something, it measures how quickly your blood sugar spikes. Healthy foods don't spike your foods, unhealthy foods spike your foods. Fruit are a big misconception. Take a look at this food chart and pause it. This is extremely important. People treat fruit so unfairly. Look at how good it is on the glycemic index. Only really banana, which is over-ripened, or watermelon are sugary. The rest can be really good, but at the same time, don't eat like 50 fruit at the same time. More is not always better. And here's a good frame of reference to look at. As we move into the glycemic index, hummus, chickpeas, garlic, onion, green peppers, eggplants, mushrooms, lettuce, those are your best low sugar foods. But then you move into other fruits, even chocolate. So for your chocolate lovers, nuts, cashews, whole milk, not that bad. But then you move into more your coarse breads, your strawberries, your milk, natural yogurt, oatmeal, beans. Then 50 to 70 is where you move into more your breads, your sweeter fruit, your ice creams, your yogurts, your grapes. And then 70 to 100s, white bread, donuts, all the processed foods, cornflakes, French fries, potato type foods. Those are the ones to avoid.
Yeah, so the glycemic index is, as he mentions, the categorization of foods and how they raise the blood sugar. When I was taught about meals and the response that a person has to a meal, it was taught that it was normal to have a blood sugar elevation after a meal. Well, it's only normal if you're eating lots of carbohydrates. And so if you're eating higher glycemic foods, you want to be careful with the amount of that you have. So glycemic index, because it doesn't tell you how much you can have, morphed into a concept called glycemic load, which multiplies the glycemic index by the amount of it that you have. Well, in the programs that I teach, or if you're doing keto and carnivore, the carbs you have are so, and the foods you have are so low on the glycemic index, they're almost off the scale on the bottom, because you don't want to have an increase in the blood glucose at all. So I think this is a good categorization. I think the best way to go is to just eat foods that don't even show up on the glycemic index.
The foods to avoid, number one, processed foods. Foods like chips, cookies, fast food. These are unhealthy fats, unhealthy sugars, high in salts. These are shown to worsen inflammation. They damage your nerves. Proven in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging, high processed foods are strongly associated with increasing the risk for peripheral neuropathy. If it's coming from a factory, it's not good for your nerves.
Yeah, let me know your results or your personal experience down below. When someone takes away carbs, do they do a carnivore or keto diet? What people tell me is they can then kind of feel the response of the sugar. It's as if they were numb to it before, meaning I had some sugar and my shoulder hurt, or I had some sugar and it could be starch, which digests the sugar. It might be I had some sugar and my knee hurt. And I hadn't felt that in a while. I was feeling so good. And I've heard it really with just about every food. We categorize some foods in a group called the nightshade vegetables, the tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, and peppers. And those are kind of known to cause inflammation and joint pains. But I've heard sugar on that list even for joint pain. So I think it's more extensive than just nightshade vegetables to limit if you have arthritis, for example. But let me know your experience below.
Refined carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates like white bread, pasta, and rice can cause a spike in blood sugar levels. This leads to nerve damage. A study published in the Journal of Diabetes Care found that a high intake of refined carbohydrates may increase the risk of developing diabetic neuropathy. And the biggest one for me, this is actually the #2 cause behind diabetes and potentially chemotherapy, is alcohol. Everybody drinks alcohol around the modern world, and this really correlates with nerve disease. This prevents the absorption of vitamins and minerals that are necessary for nerve repair. This is well studied. The Journal of Neurology found that drinking alcohol can lead to nerve damage. This is the second biggest cause, alcoholic neuropathy. It even has a name. Cut out the alcohol. If you're having tingling in your fingertips and your toes, just cut it out. It'll make a huge difference and improve the quality of your life almost immediately.
And that's something that you need to keep in mind. Although in a diabetes reversal, metabolic syndrome, obesity reversal kind of program, it's okay to have a little bit of alcohol. It needs to be moderated. And if you have the neuropathy, why not try without the alcohol? I think that's a great idea.
Trans fats. So interestingly, these were banned in 2020, but banned doesn't really mean anything. They just lowered the levels to the point where they don't really document it for you. Under 1 gram per serving. So you could just lower the serving potentially. I don't know. I'm sure they're cutting corners anyway. Trans fats are in fried foods like margarine, processed snacks. Anything that's processed that is made to sit on a shelf for a long time has some trans fats or historically did. This worsens inflammation. It damages nerves. The Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging showed that trans fat directly correlates to nerve damage. That's one to really cut down on. Again, stuff that comes from a factory. Artificial sweeteners. This is a great alternative to eating sugary foods. So if you had to choose, obviously the artificial sweetener is better, but aspartame, sucralose can worsen inflammation and damage nerves. So a study for the Journal of Diabetes Care found that consuming these artificial sweeteners may increase the risk of developing diabetic neuropathy.
Well, so that's an interesting sort of thing where you might be using the artificial sweeteners to get off the sugar, deal with the sugar addiction. And in my experience, it's worth using the artificial sweeteners, at least temporarily, to get off the diabetes roller coaster, if you will, to reverse diabetes. But I suppose if you still have a neuropathy or it's not related to diabetes, then why not try without the non-sugar sweeteners? It's worth a try.
Dairy products. Babies need to drink milk. I'm a big fan of this. Is cut down your milk intake as an adult. High-fat dairy products like excessive cheese, excessive butter, this can be related to worsening inflammation and damaged nerves. I'm skeptical about this because the trend in science now is showing that fat was unfairly blamed by a lot of the big sugar lobby dollars. Fat now is overwhelmingly being shown that it's not quite as bad, but there are some studies. The Journal of Nutrients found that too much fat intake, and again, this is kind of like the unhealthy meats, the processed meats, is related to nerve disease. Fried meats. I put this in the area of processed meats. Fried meats are basically covered with vegetable oils. Vegetable oils raise our omega-6s compared to our omega-3s. That's correlated with high rates of inflammation, and it's also associated with something called heterocyclic amines, which worsen inflammation and damage nerves. Fried meats, specifically oily fried meats, the Journal of Nutrients found that a high intake of these HCAs may increase the risk of developing neuropathy, increase your joint inflammation, and your nerve inflammation. Switch to the lean proteins, the dark leafy greens, the nuts, omega-3 fatty acids, colorful fruits and vegetables, whole grains, low glycemic index foods. Cut out the alcohol, the simple carbs, the trans fats, the artificial sweeteners.
Well, I think that was a good video showing you how to get proper nutrition through the meats and some leafy greens and vegetables, and also to avoid foods that are pro-inflammatory, the refined sugars and starches, the processed foods. I'm torn between, well, it depends on your situation. If you're trying to reverse diabetes, another metabolic problem, you're watching this, you're one of my patients, and you're in the program, and I don't want you to have those refined carbs or fruits and things. So that's the wrong message. Although if there were studies showing a little bit of those, or say, I think it's the amount, it's the grams of carbs that matter, or you might have just a little bit of the fruit or berries and still get benefit in neuropathy. But my approach is to just take away all of those carbs for a long period of time, if necessary, see how things go. That's the best diabetes reversal program that I know, is cutting the carbs really, really low. Eat foods that are not even showing up on the glycemic index. The glycemic index of butter is 0, so it's not going to even show up on the glycemic index. So, but I like the video in general, and it teaches about neuropathy, and you want to reduce inflammation and be sure you're eating foods that give you all the proper nutrition you need. It's very similar to what I teach every day in my clinic. Maybe that's why I see neuropathy go away in some, not all, of the patients in my experience. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our YouTube membership for early access and exclusive live Q&As with me. Just click the join button below or support us with a PayPal in the description.